And the purpose, of course, will attract you what you want. So I think that, amazing, and that for, us women to come together and to help other women. So
Absolutely.
tell me just a little bit. We're not going to get into the nitty gritty about your journey just yet.
Okay.
So just tell me just a little bit about you before your journey.
The woman I was before the journey. Wow. She was a woman of faith, grounded in Christian spirituality and principles. I grew up, I'm a PK, my dad's a pastor. But before my journey, I was just a broken woman, a doormat girl, someone with low confidence, and just really working to identify really who I was. That was
Mm,
a major shift on my journey, is who are you and why are you here?
mm,
What is your purpose here? You mentioned that about purpose. It's so very true about the growth of working from the inside out really does attach you more and more to your purpose. So I was just a troubled woman, someone who was trying to figure things out in life. I had a lot of emotional health challenges, whereby just
mm,
being able to trust. I had dealt with a lot of abandonment and rejection. So
mhm,
trying to deal within the realms of those things, really trying to gain an understanding and clarity for myself as a woman. Like, what does this mean? And how do I not let it continue to sabotage
mm,
the rest of my life? So it was
mhm.
just like a big bubble trying to figure things out. And
Right.
it was actually a tragic, well, not tragic, but a difficult situation. I was in a relationship that
Mm,
went south, and that was the reason that got me to look inward and at myself. I no longer had
mm,
anyone to, push my views through or have that filter. It was just me. And I had to deal with all of me. It was me holding a mirror, and I had to say either I'm gonna not carry this ball and chain around with me for the rest of my life, or I'm going
mhm,
to take some time to address some of these things. That's really
mm.
how the journey got started.
Wow. Wow. And it seems like, we see that it's the pain
Yes.
that we go through that pushes us more towards what it is that we're exactly need to do. So
True.
tell me a little. So what was your mindset when you were actually like going through? Like, what were you thinking, and what was the breaking point where you said, "I surrender, Lord. Just I'm going to do it your way."
Right. So what I was thinking is, I'm in this big, deep, dark hole, and how am I going to get out of it? And I
Mm,
knew I wasn't going to be able to do that alone. That's when I
mm,
said, okay, God, I've tried it my way. I tried it my way last month, last year, and I'm still having these emotional health challenges and feelings. I always thought I could do it on my own. Who was I?
right.
Crazy to think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And God just reminded me that He is in control of all things. And
Mm-hmm.
he reminded me in an analogy of a school teacher and a pupil, a student. And
Mm-hmm.
I had been in this room with God, just He
Mm-hmm.
and I kept having to come back to the same lesson. I
Mm,
just didn't get it.
mm,
Blinders, spiritual blinders were on. My own, what I wanted got interrupted in that. And I finally said,
mm-hmm.
I don't want to go another year like this. I'm no longer in a relationship. I have plenty of time to dedicate to myself, to learn, to grow, to figure things out. And when God gave me that analogy about being in a classroom with Him, and Him as
Mm-hmm.
the teacher is like, I'm here, but here you are with this same test. I said,
Mm,
that's it. Okay, I don't want to waste another 2, 3, 4 years of my life. So,
mm-hmm.
God, I surrender, and let's do this work. That
Right.
was a big jump from someone who was, broken, realizing that you have all these challenges, and then saying, okay, God, I've been trying to get on my own, and now I'm ready to surrender. And then the real work begins. That was a transition in itself.
And so that birthed hard work, right?
That birthed heart work. That is where the heart work journey really began. And that was really literally over years of growing and being in one relationship with God only. You know, a lot of women may feel like God has you set aside and set so far apart, no one can get to you. And he had me in that place. And in the beginning, it was like, no, I don't like just this. You know, I want to be able to commune with others. And he's like, no, you need this deep internal work to go on alone without me. This is your problem. You focus so much on validation from others. I need you to come out of that, because there were some women out there I'm going to want you to help along. I didn't know all this. But after a while, he started to place that purpose that was in me. It started to illuminate what I healed from is what he was showing me that he wanted me to share with other women. And I was like, wow, you used my lowest time to want to birth something out of me. And when I realized that assignment on my life, it was simple. It was like, I have to get through this. This is a work that I have to do and I have to complete. Even if it takes me a couple times to get it, I still need to do this. But God was always in the trenches with me. That was the beautiful thing. I never felt like I was going through my heart work alone. God was with me every step of the way. He did cause certain situations and circumstances to occur, because otherwise I wouldn't grow. I would stay stagnant. I wouldn't push myself. But the way that God pushed me and the way that he had me in the fire, it was the best way. And I do it all over again, because it was a quick work. It was him doing an accelerated learning. And even though it took years, I feel like in those 2 to 3 years of that time with God, it was 2 to 3 years, but it felt like an instant. It was like he was teaching me so much in a very small amount of time. Wow. And at that point, I had to say, okay, I've done the work, and now you want me to put this in a book? That means you want me to expose myself to people. I was like, well, we didn't talk about that. We just talked about me doing the work, So it was a challenge too, to get from the place of having a book placed in me to me ridding myself of fear and getting out of my own way to do what God wanted me to do, which is write that book.
Wow. It was one thing that you said is that, when we have to go public, I remember when God said, you need to start telling your story. I'm like, He was like, get a tripod, get a microphone. And I was like, So I was trying to use it for something else. You know what I'm saying? Like to promote a business, to do this, to that. But it's like, he said, no, the satisfaction ultimately, and like you said, it's like it shaves off light years from what you're doing. And what you said, it was like in a short amount of time. So tell me what that short amount of time was between you doing the actual work, because that work is work. When you have to do that inner work,
the inner work is the real deal, because inner work requires you to open your emotional health closet. All those skeletons in that closet, you're opening that up wide and saying, oh, I got to deal with that and that. And I got all about that. And it's like, he wanted me to renew my mind. He wanted me to change my mind about how I dealt with situations. He wanted me to change my mind and how I responded to situations. Listen, I'm no perfect gal. So I had my own bouts with hot-temperedness, flying off at the handle. I had to get to the root. Why do you do those things? I had to get to the root and dig deep. And I found that I never felt like I was heard. So I always felt like, well, you'll hear me this way. If I roar, you'll hear me. But that wasn't the correct response. That wasn't, God wants that soft, quiet, subtle, just like he is. that still
Mm-hmm.
small voice. You're not going to reach people with all the banging around. So I need you to cut down on
Mm-hmm.
that. So it was just, you know, uh, working through that process of growth, and
Mm-hmm.
then getting through that process. It was about 2 to 3 years of doing the internal work. And then
Mm.
it was another 5 before I said, okay, I'll finally write the book. So I
Wow.
ran from my assignment for 5 years. That book was in me for 5 years, even after the
You
work.
did the work.
I did the work, and then it was still 5 years because I had an issue with, God, why do you want me to tell the world my story?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you want everyone to know about it? I mean, you put me
Mm-hmm.
in a very precarious position. And that's
Mm-hmm.
exactly where he wanted me to be. He wanted me to be able to show women that you can be hurt, broken, rejected, abandoned, and if God has an assignment on your life, he will rescue you. You will flourish. You will be victorious. You will win. And that's the message of hope he wants me to deliver. So, and I'm excited about that. I get so excited when women, I listen to them speak, and then I hear that despair and
Mm-hmm.
despondentness. They just have no hope. And I just want
Mm-hmm.
to let them know that I'm a walking testimony of what God will
Mm-hmm.
do, even with your emotions. He works
Mm.
in that realm, areas of the heart, emotion. He works in that realm too. And there's a lot of women who are bruised and broken that he wants healed.
Mm-hmm.
He wants women to be healed.
So tell me, so when you were going through your journey, were you still working with women?
Yes. Imagine that. So I didn't even think about being a coach until I had gotten around year 2 of doing my work. I'm like, this is exciting. I've peeled off loads of layers. I've
Mm-hmm.
released so much. But even then, God reminded me, you've not arrived. And this is a journey of never arriving. You will continue
Mm.
to grow, you will continue to evolve. But where you are now, you don't feel that you're equipped. But I'm
Mm.
that you're equipped, and you have a message I want people to hear. So I started working with women even as I'm working things out. But listen, I can speak to my level of my lens and my
Mm-hmm.
experience, but there's something beautiful that happens when God adds his supernatural to it when you're working with other people. He'll begin to
Mm-hmm.
minister to me and speak to my heart, and I'm saying things to women that I myself have never heard.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, that was for me, not
Mm.
him. I needed that. And the more and more I was speaking to women, the more and more he was speaking to me. The more and
Wow.
more I received revelation, more and more he opened my spiritual eyes, my spiritual ears. I'm thinking I'm here to help someone, and here I am, the one receiving.
Mm.
That
It's
was,
giving and receiving.
yes. And that was enough for me to keep working at it and keep growing. And then I went and got my certification to become a coach, and I was all in after that. But my first few steps in that realm was very trying for me, learning the ropes and then trusting God to do his work.
Wow. Wow. So let's talk a little bit about your book.
Okay.
So the first book is the first chapter is grow. No, no, no. The first chapter is women in the
Woman
mirror.
in the mirror. Uh-huh.
So tell the audience just a little bit about women in the mirror, because I'm assuming this is part of your spiritual journey. So
Yep.
tell the audience from your own words about the woman in the
Woman
mirror.
in the mirror. Right. First and foremost, woman in the mirror is the crux of heart work. I mean, it's your very, very beginning stage. And for me, that's what my surrendering was. It was me taking a look in the mirror and saying, this is not the woman I want to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years down the road. That was
Mm-hmm.
me looking in the mirror, being honest with myself for the first time, acknowledging the areas that I needed to work in and grow in. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
real true reflection of where you're really at. It's the raw of who you are. And every woman has to go through that first phase of looking in the mirror, and not just looking at yourself in the mirror, but being really honest with where you've been, where do you want to go, how do you plan on getting there, but what junk do you have that you need to release? Because
Mm.
every day we should strive to be a better woman today than we were yesterday. And what does that
Right.
look like? So, the woman in the mirror, that chapter really just sets everything up to begin the hard work. We can't start anywhere until we first deal with you and looking in the
Right.
mirror and focusing on some of your challenges. A lot of women have a hard time. That's the hardest step for women. When I talk to them today, they're like, oh no, you want me to be honest with me? Yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
women have a hard time with that step. It's like making it real when they're honest.
Mm.
And
So I
it's
just want to
true.
pause you right
Yeah,
there.
go ahead.
Why do you think that we aren't able to deal with those barriers? Because even for me, when I went through my transition, one of my girlfriends, great girlfriends, said, "It's not about anybody else. It's about you and your thought process and how
Yeah.
you view you and how you value yourself and all of those things." And so, one of the things that the God revealed to me during my process was, um, I was at the gym, I'll never forget it. And he said, mismanaged emotions lead to destructive behavior, right? I'm at the gym. I'm at the
Oh,
gym.
ooh, I would have walked out after that. I'm done. No more
I
working
was
out.
like, I said to myself, oh my gosh, I gotta go home. I gotta deal with this, right? And it was just a couple weeks or it might have been a month just after she had told me it was time for my healing, right? And so, I was at the gym, you powering it out,
Yes.
you're powering it out. And all of a sudden, it was in that moment, he said, mismanaged emotions leads to destructive behavior. And I was
Powerful,
like,
girlfriend.
when I, when I say it crushed my heart, like I got in the car and I was headed home, and I was so determined to deal with it, because if I didn't deal with it, then me moving forward would all be in vain. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Right.
And
You
so,
left work undone. Right.
exactly. And so, why do you think it's so hard for women to just not want to not to be whole,
Right.
or to lay it bare? Because I
Right.
guess it's hard to lay it bare, and in your professional opinion, and then in your personal opinion.
My professional opinion, coaching women and working with women, I would say the reason the women are having issues with this as a barrier is because it's work. And
Mm.
that requires an element from them that they already have 8 spinning plates: work, wife, mother, caregiver, some of them, a lot of women in school, and it's not a priority. Seriously,
Mm.
until they realize or they see other women growing, developing. They're like, I need a little bit of that. Well, what did you
Mm.
do? Well, this is what I did. Women just
Mm.
need to start taking charge of their life and making it a priority.
Mm.
Personally, I was there.
Mm-hmm.
I can speak from my lens. It's really tough to dig up old dirt and
Mm.
face it. And I get why people don't make themselves a priority. It's tough. It makes that situation that happened to you real,
It does.
and you have to face it. You can't sweep it under a rug, but that's what women do. I'll
Mm.
sweep it under the rug. I'll deal with it when I have time. Time happens. It's 8 years in, and they've got a volcano of things
Mm.
underneath the rug. And
Mm-hmm.
here they are, and a woman who's 8 years grown in age and still have emotional capacity, and capabilities. So, I just encourage women to, this whole self-love, emotional health thing is becoming a fad, which I don't like. Self-love isn't Calgon baths and cheesecake and, going out on a date. Those are great when you can be alone by yourself and take good care of yourself alone. but it's so much more than that. It's making the tough decisions for the woman you see yourself later. I want to own a home, so I need to, my self-love is saving money and not spending money so that I can be good to my future self who wants to buy a home.
Right.
They need to make themselves a priority, and they need to release the ball and chain from their own life for a better version of themselves. They just got to make that connection. And when they do, they'll start to say, well, I do kind of have areas that I need to work on. And what can I do to start that process?
So do you think shame and blame is one of the things that women like to stay in? We like to stay in that shame and blame,
Yep.
and never accept responsibility. Do you?
Sure. Oh yeah, shame and blame. As long as you can hold on to the hurt and pain, you don't have to deal with it because you're a victim. So you got to release yourself from the victim mentality, and you know, you got to grow bigger than what happened to you and realize you are not what happened to you. It happened to you to serve a purpose in your life, to share a lesson in your life and in your world, and ultimately God wants us to lean on him in everything. So the lessons vary women to women about what the journeys that they begin. I'm always excited to hear, you know, how they start, but the reasoning why. Everyone's lesson and purpose with their journey is very different. I'm just happy to see women start it.
Exactly. So from a personal perspective, could you just highlight what one thing that you really had to deal with so that you could move on?
Wow, the one thing I really had to deal with, I am going to say, was rejection. And that rejection, you know, was, you know, not fully always feeling accepted, but in turn played off of other emotions. People pleasing, it just kind of spiraled into some other things. Exaggeration of the spirit, you know, all of those things. But rejection was my big one. I had a hard time saying, I've been rejected, and this is the area that I need to accept myself in, whether that situation happened to me or not. So that was my biggest challenge. That's what took the longest for me, because I took it personal. When I was rejected, I took it personal. And I've learned you can't always take everything personal or take on everything that comes at you. Negative emotions, feelings, we have the power to say, I don't receive it. And I didn't know about that power within me then. So learning that was one of the things I learned. I don't have to receive it. And I didn't have to take it personally. So yeah, most definitely for me, rejection was it. And I thank God for healing me in that place, because I am now able to help women heal, because that was my greatest adversary in my life, was getting over rejection, not taking it personally, and then working hard to, you know, validate and accept myself, even with challenges. That's the important thing about being a resilient woman, is being able to deal in the capacity of challenges and circumstances and still see yourself in a really good light.
Wow. So tell us, like, what was your process? Did you have to do some mirror work? Did you have to tell yourself a new story? Because, you know, I'm a metaphysical thinker, and so everything pertains to the mind. And when you separate the conscious mind with the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is where we dwell in, and those are the habitual things that we do on a daily basis that we don't even know that we're doing. And recognizing. And so for me, I had to learn a new way of expressing myself. And when I say, you know, the comment was the thing that he told me was, mismanaged emotions lead to destructive behavior. It wasn't because I was abruptly outright emotionally crazy, but it was because I did not know how to verbally express my emotions. And so because I was muted as a child, muted means you better think, you can think it, but you better not
say it.
So I became a thinker, But when it was time for me to express how I felt, because I had to internalize it, it was a whole lot of emotions that went with it, a lot of crying, a lot of this, and because you didn't know how to express yourself because you were not matured in that area.
Right.
And so he was saying, in order for you to move forward, you're going to have to learn a new way of how to express your feelings.
Wow.
So that it could be beneficial to you and to the other person, so that you can get the result that you want.
Right.
And that was huge for me, because I really had to renew my mind. So what was it for you?
So for me, I had to deal with the negative self-talk. So my thing that resource that I used to help me get through was I became, and I thank God for placing it in my heart, was a hugely positive, optimistic person. I took on the challenge of growing as a woman, and I took it on with, I have never been here before. I don't even know if I'm going to do this right, but I am taking a stand for my better emotional health today. And I just started speaking positivity into me. And I'll tell you what, and I tell people to do it. Speak affirmations, positivity, speak the word over you, whatever you need to do. I did all of those things. I didn't even believe it when I was saying it at first.
Wow.
So it was important for me to keep saying it. And I tell people this all the time. Your brain wants to do whatever your mouth is saying. So be very careful about what comes out of your mouth. And I knew that as a Christian woman. And I'm like, I want to be very careful about what I'm saying. And I want to speak life in this dead situation I'm in, because I'm starting from the ground up. I need God to breathe life into it. I needed the positivity. My passwords on my computers were all positive messages to myself.
Wow.
How many times do we type in a password? All day, every day.
Right.
And I started to change my passwords to reflect something I would have to constantly type, constantly mentally absorb as a positivity. And, I do messages on my alerts. And every time the alert would go off, a positive message I just filled my life with God's word, positivity, and optimism, really to help me believe in the work I was getting ready to do. And again, like I said, at first I didn't believe it, but over time it started to get inside me. And now that's who I am. It just comes out. It's just natural. And I thank God for that, because I wasn't always that girl.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, as you heal, then you can go that one step level up, and then you're able to heal others. Because even when I was going through my transition, it's relationship wise, and not to put too much out there, but it was one thing that I just realized through one of my talks, is that I was able to, because I had became healed in that area, I was able to heal my daughter.
Yes.
With helping her reproduce, rebirth a new thought process.
Right.
And I said the same thing to her. It doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. It has everything to do with you.
Yes.
And definitely. So if we as women get other women to understand that, yes, you hurt. Yes, this has happened to you. But it's also about your frame of thought when you were in that situation.
Most definitely.
So,
Speaking it, girlfriend, that's so true. It's very true.
Yeah, because you want to be able to reproduce, you want to be able to multiply, and when you're able to multiply, then you see the fruit of your labor from before, because, we want to, what I thought I was doing before was poison, right?
But you didn't know any.
But I didn't know any better. And it was like, when I saw myself, I saw poison. I had the tongue of poison. Wow. And I was like, but I'm standing in a position where I thought, but I was acting in my senses, and I had not made that connection of, oh, I'm a spiritual being encased in a body, and I have to use my spirituality first. So were you religious before, or were you always a spiritual being?
Always spiritual. Again, I grew up in church. My dad was a pastor for as long as I can remember. Both sides of my family, mom and dad, both have their dads were pastors. So it's been a part of who I am. But I'll tell you what, sometimes even having that strong upbringing, you stray away and, you get kind of tangled up in the world and world views. But listen, train up a child in the way that they should go, and they'll always come back. They'll never depart. And so that was me. I went back to my foundation of spirituality and Christian principles and morals. I went back to what I knew was tried and true. So yes, I have always kind of had that in me, which has helped. And then I deal with people who don't have that. Tough.
Wow, it's tough.
For those who don't have the Christian principles of foundation, because it's a lot of what healing and doing the work is based on. Literally looking at yourself the way God sees you. What does he say about you? What does he say about how we should be in the world? I mean, those principles are guiding for me. And those are the ones that I try to implement when I work with women. But, and not watering it down, but just being very real and honest about the help I receive from God, who my higher power and all. But definitely had some level of spirituality before I went through, and that just was blown to a beautiful, amazing growth. I call it quick, fast spiritual maturity, because that's what happened to me.
Exactly.
And, yeah, it was exponential, accelerated spiritual maturity to be able to go through that transition and learn and grow, and still implementing those Christian principles. It was a definite experience for sure.
Right. So another chapter we want to highlight is get anchored and know thyself. I could write a book I could write a chapter on your chapter.
Yes!
Okay. So, get anchored and know thyself. Because, I don't know how old you are. I'm 48. How old are you?
44.
Okay, 44. So I didn't actually wake up till age 40. How old were you when you woke up? Like you had, it was amazing to me because I remember it was like my 39th birthday. It was not my birthday, but it was the year before I turned 40.
Right.
And it was in December, and it was a dark place. And I woke up and I said, is this all that it is? Is this all that my life is going to be?
Right.
And so I began to, to wake up. And that's when I think my actual journey started. So for you, what does it mean when you say get anchored and know thyself from your perspective?
From my perspective, that means we live in a world with a lot of views, opinions, thoughts, perceptions. And in this day and age, a lot of what we grew up with that wasn't accepted is now accepted in our world. And not to throw shade on anything, but there's a lot of different views. I had dealt with taking on views of others as my own because I didn't have my own mind. So for me, get anchored and know thyself really is about getting to really know who you are inside and out. What is important to you? What are your core values? Where does your moral compass point? And that's what get anchored and know thyself is, not to take on the views of others that you spend so much time with and family, or this notion in our family has been passed down for generations, so it's just what it is. We don't have to accept that. So it's just being able to know who you are well enough to define your own thought processes and identify your own moral compass.
That is amazing. Because I think for women, I think it's hard for them to really get to know thyself because, like I said this morning, I knew myself as a parent.
Yeah.
I knew myself as a daughter. I knew myself as an employee.
Yep.
I knew myself as a wife.
Yeah.
but did I really know who Dana was? And
Right.
so, like now I put on stuff, Dana Marshall. And so
Mm-hmm.
my husband was like, why do you don't put my last name? It's that's because I want to have ownership of my own identity, because
Sure.
sometimes you lose that
You.
by becoming everything for everybody else, right? And so it's special to me to just say it's Dana Marshall. You know what
Yeah.
I'm
Just
saying?
me. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And and so when you ask women, what is, I believe the 9 times out of 10 when you ask women, do you know yourself? Do they say they don't know?
Yes, they do. They are very honest in remarking about they don't know who they were. A life situation has occurred which set them back some years.
Mm.
A lot of them have, to take care of an ailing parent, and that went on for a multitude of years. And in doing
Mm-hmm.
so, they don't even know what they like anymore, or what are some
Mm.
of their interests and hobbies, because they've basically put their whole self into being, a caregiver. And you made a very great point about identifying who we are with our jobs or our roles as wives or
Mm-hmm.
moms, and saying this is my whole identity. That's just, your job is what you do and you're great
Mm-hmm.
at it, you know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
it isn't Dana Marshall.
Right.
There's so much more to us than just the work that we do at work and the work we do as moms and wives and all of that. That's where I want women to spend the time really digging deep. And a lot of women are like, listen, I can start this journey. And this is why I always say you can start or renew this emotional
Mm.
health or self-love journey, because you're going to get off and on the horse. Life happens.
Right.
Okay, just get back on. We want to make sure that we're always giving credence to our emotional health. And I see that beautiful, amazing plant behind you. And it just reminds me of planting seeds into our emotional health and self-love journey. You're not going to see the fruit of it today. It took
That's
me
right.
years to get there. But those
Mm-hmm.
seeds that I was, putting in good soil, good heart posture, I now can see the fruit of my labor and now want to help other people. So I just feel it's important for people. You can recognize that you don't know who you are, but then what are you going to do about it? That's my
Exactly.
question. What's next then?
What's next?
What's next?
Absolutely. And I know I want to keep you within the hour because we said an
Right.
hour, and I don't want to run over. So just quickly, let's talk about grow girl grow, and also let's talk about your definition of an emotional health coach. So
Okay.
whichever one you want to start with, and then we're going to end with you giving any events and you
Okay.
know about your book or anything like that. So
All right. All right. So, an emotional health coach, to me, is someone who will help another individual get unstuck in the area of emotional health. So, someone may be saying, I recognize, or I don't even know where I need to start. They just don't know. And that they just kind of need someone to ask them the right questions that will
mm-hmm,
open up that floodgate, that will kind of get them talking and bringing stuff up. Coaching really doesn't deal too much with the past, except
mm,
just for contextual purposes. But it's really about moving the individual forward. We can talk about what happened just for context, but we want to move you forward. We want to get you growing. Let's identify some areas, that you want to work in. The coach relationship with the client is really the client doing the bulk of the work. So
um,
again, the work lies therein with the woman who wants to make change in her life. It's just up to me to help them answer those right questions, and kind of, people just need a roadmap. They don't know where to begin, where to go, and what happens when I do this, and they just need someone to guide them along, and that's what a coach does. So thank you for asking about that. And then the Grow is a project that I'm starting. I became an author because I was a part of an anthology back in 2011. I was a part of the Victorious Living for Moms. So it was
mm,
a letter written to moms across the world. So it's like the chicken soup for the Soul series. I want the same thing for Grow Girl Grow in the context
wow.
of emotional health. So I want to see some women become authors. I want to see some women share their story. And our first iteration of the Grow, Grow, Grow project will be next year. We'll release our first book with a group of authors focusing on forgiveness. There is beauty in forgiveness. And
Absolutely.
it's the one thing that when I coach women, that comes up the most is their issue of forgiveness. They just can't seem to get over that. So I've got some amazing authors round up that are participating in this project that's going to share their forgiveness story to then in turn hopefully inspire and help other women. So every year we're going to release a new book in this Grow, Grow, Grow project. Next year will be on forgiveness. The following year, we're going to look to work on something with gratitude. But it's something that I want to pour my heart into from now until the end of time. I just want to see people successful and become authors, sharing their stories of hope, again, reaching the outermost corners of the world to help women heal.
Absolutely. I can't wait to hear it. I can't wait to read it.
Yes.
I can't wait till you publicize it, because that is going to be amazing.
Yes.
Yes, that is going to be amazing. And when women rise up, become the powerful being that they were created, we can heal so many people.
Absolutely.
And so it's my desire as well as your desire that we heal ourselves as well as heal others. And that's our multiplication, because had we not healed or gone through some certain type of process, then we would not be here and be in talking so eloquently or being so loving and accepting and non-judgmental of women, and making a safe space for them so that they can speak. Because it took me some time to get here, because I was judgmental, but I was judgmental of myself. And so if you're judgmental of yourself, then of course you're going to judge others. And you don't even know that you're doing it,
It's subconscious. You gotta break that mental, and like you said, people don't even know that they're doing it. It's unbelievable. When I can be out at a grocery store and I'll hear someone say something and I cringe. Like, oh, did you just speak that over yourself? Like, careful with what you say. Even in the smallest of things. But you're absolutely right. I feel so blessed to have shared this platform with you. Thank you again for the invitation, just to commune. And like you said, there's no competition. It's all about us working together as women, being professional. And our common goal is to serve and help heal other women. So kudos to you, Dana, for doing that each and every day, every week. I love following all of your stuff. So thank you so much for having me.
Look, sometimes you don't even who's watching or who's not, and it's just like you put
beautiful.
yourself out there, and it's like, and I see you on giving your motivational.
We try. And listen, do you know how long it took me to record a video and post it of myself? You never know. They go up every Monday, but it was such a thing for me to get to put myself out there. And I kept saying, God, why do you want me out there like that? But that platform, that is where the women are. And so there you should be also, he said. So, but it was a very tough thing for me to work on the public and talking. And now it comes second nature, but it's something I had to really work on and get over. All a part of growing. All a part of growing. He just took me level to level. And I'm very grateful for that.
Yes. So Miss Ursula Evans, I thank you so much for coming on. I'm so grateful that we were able to connect at this moment. It was for the right appointed time. You know what I'm saying?
It was perfect.
For the right appointed time. And tell people how they can get in touch with you and on social media and things of that nature.
All right. Thank you again, Dana. I appreciate you, honey, so much for being on your podcast. And thank you all for listening. I'm on social media on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me at Ursula Evans. And if you want to get a copy of Heartwork, it's a woman's guide to emotional health and self-love. You can get that at Amazon.com.
Absolutely. And did you do your website?
UrsulaEvans.com for the website.
Okay.
So all things about all the new things coming up with Grow, 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 all of that is at UrsulaEvans.com. Thanks, Dana.
Okay, absolutely. So everybody, this is Ursula Evans, and she hails from Florida, correct?
Yes, Orlando.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Look, she is in Florida, so reach out
Yes.
to her if you're looking for some coaching, some emotional healing. She is the person that you need to
Thank
contact.
you.
And once again, we just want to extend thank yous and get her book, because that book will help you, give you insight, will heal you, and gives you some other
Yes.
things to think about. Because I always say, we can learn from each other, and I'm learning
Yeah.
from her, and I'm hoping maybe something
I
she's learning
am.
from me.
Thank you for being a shining light, girlfriend. I am so grateful. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. And you have a wonderful day.
You
It's
too,
raining
honey.
here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't know if it's
It's a little damp outside today, so not
okay.
a lot of sunshine, but we'll do our best to take care. You do the same, my love.
Absolutely. See you again
Take
and
care,
keep in
honey.
touch.
I will do.
Okay.
Thank you, honey.
Okay. All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye-bye.